Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Howdy, all y'all. Red.olaughlin here. We're on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. We're also on the E360 TV network. And it seems like every time I turn around, there's something else being added. I was just told this week that Roku is a new one. We're looking at Amazon Fire, or there's Amazon Live. Of course, we're on YouTube. Just a plethora of places that these programs can be found. Let me go ahead and get my slide set up. Makes it a lot easier to talk here. Okay, there we go. A disclaimer, I'm a researcher. Honestly, I love to research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I'm not a doctor, never been in that field, never worked in the pharmaceutical industry. But I love the chemical reactions. What happens? What's going on? What can you do to speed them up? What can you do to slow them down? And so when I'm looking in my typical daily research, and it literally is daily, for what can I do to improve my longevity, my physical health, and enjoy life. I don't want to spend the last 5 or 10 years of my life with somebody changing my diaper. That's not, to me, an ideal end of life situation. But I fell in love with chemistry way back in high school, and I use that knowledge nowadays to do this type of research and study. I did this for my last job in civilian life, corporate world, where I would dig down 4, 5, 6, 7 layers deep into a problem as to what caused something to happen. I want to know the root cause of a problem. That way you can treat the cause, not the symptoms. And I believe we individuals, we're responsible for our own health and wellness, not our doctor. And this presentation, as always, is primarily intended for initially awareness and education. That being said, the last couple things that we talked about last week, toxins and cleaning products, we know that chlorine bleach is a very strong disinfectant. However, it can be a problem on some people's skin, some people respiratory issues, but it can be a real problem when it's mixed with other cleaners, such as some people mix chlorine and ammonia. Not a smart thing to do. Ammonia, I had an experience with chlorine gas way back when I was in college working in a plant that manufactured chlorine, and I'm out walking in the middle of the night and chlorine hit me, and I had my chlorine escape mask on, put it on, and walked out of the area. Chlorine is very sensitive to my nose. I've been very high-tuned to it. But ammonia is another one I used to use all the time as a solvent, as a cleaner. And yes, it got an unusual, weird smell to it. But some things smell really terrible to some people. For me, I don't know. Phthalates, that's one of the ones that's also in a lot of cleaners. It's a plasticizer, gives you some fragrance to things. But again, the biggest problem with phthalates is the hormone disruption that it causes us. We also have industrial products, your carpets, your clothes, a lot of things, laminate floors, particle boards, plywood. And when you put it into fabrics, it prevents that wrinkling and shrinkage that you see. You open it up and everything, hey, this is a pretty nice looking shirt. And the formaldehyde is one of the things that allows that visual perception of the material. Polyvinyl chlorides, PVCs. They're in flooring, carpets, a lot of synthetic clothing. Again, it's a hormone disruptor. And then you have compounds, the PFCs. You see something that says stain resistant, water resistant, non-stick. Again, a possible immune hormone issue. The issue is not so much the fact that they can do it, it's how much of the time do you use something, or how much the exposure, or how strong the exposure is to those particular chemicals. Particulate matter pollution, we talked about this last week. How do we avoid them? Well, let's just talk about everything today is going to be on how do we avoid. So particulate matter, those things that hang in the air, you avoid or reduce them by smoking, by not smoking indoors. In other words, if you're a smoker, go outdoors. If you're smoking and there's other people in the room, go outdoors. But if you're indoors, you can generally avoid most of that. Exhaust fans, air filters, air cleaners. If you have any kind of cleaner, any type of filter, again, look at how frequently they need to be cleaned. And for most practical purposes, you can order a half a dozen or more online that are just perfectly suitable for your home or the machine you're doing than you can by going to the individual manufacturer and getting something. HEPA filters when you need that little extra protection. If you're dusting, use something that absorbs that dust rather than just moves it around. So a damp cloth is pretty good for that. I found a really nice site, airnow.gov. It gives the current air contamination by zip code. I live in the Houston area. I can put in my zip code and see what's going on, not only specifically where I'm at, but in a big chunk of Texas in the map that's there. And not only does it give me that current air contamination, the pollution, but it gives me a lot of other options that I can take a look at, one being the air quality index. Lots and lots and lots of information that's there. We have some wildfires going on up now in northern Texas. It's rare that we have them here, but I lived in Hawaii and occasionally we had the black snow when they were burning the sugarcane. You're down in San Diego, you have the winds coming off, Santa Ana winds coming off of the mountains to the east of San Diego. A lot of things provide air quality issues. And sometimes we're forced to wear a respirator. Something that's listed as NOSH, the N95, particularly we've seen that with COVID, P100s. These are all good air filters, but make sure that you're using the right kind of respirator or filter for the kind of pollution that you're having. Sometimes all you have to do is just buy some activated charcoal, crunch it up to increase its surface area, and just put them in some bowls around your home. They're excellent absorbers of aromas, scents, odors, those kind of things. Heavy metals. We talked about them a little bit. They're a variety of products. The best way to flush them out of the body is by urinating or sweating. I worked for a company in college and we were making tetraethyl lead, and they would measure the air quality in each of the labs. If the quality got to such a level, they said, hey, go home. And they would send us home literally with a case of beer and say, when you finish that, come back and we'll run another blood test on you. Because what we were doing is getting too much of lead in our bodies and we had to sweat it out by exercising or urinating. And usually 2 or 3 6-packs of beer was one of those things that just allowed you to pee all that toxin out of your body. But there's a lot of toxins that both exercise and sweat will increase their exiting from your body. A lot of processed foods have different kinds of metals in them. Become a master label reader. Water filters can reduce the heavy metals in there. They don't reduce the prescription meds that are dumped into the water supply. You may have in any particular city literally over 100 prescription meds that are in your tap water, but your local water authority doesn't have the ability to remove them. They can remove the heavy metals and other things, but not the prescription drugs. So when possible, use bottled water. You can Google foods and herbs to remove heavy metals from the body. 2 that I use all the time is turmeric and green tea. And in situations where you really do have a problem, you probably need professional help. They have a term in chemistry called chelation. And EDTA, ethylene diamine tetracetic acid, is a great chelator. And it goes in there and just grabs hold of that metal and just yanks it away from the body, and you can urinate it out down the road. Pesticides. Follow the instructions. Most of the time they say mix in a well-ventilated area. So if you're doing it in the garage because it's too windy outside, maybe you need to be outside on the other side of the garage where the wind isn't so strong. Use a protective gear. Obviously, keep it away from your children and pets. Most of the time when the pesticides, herbicides, any kind of spray that you're putting on plants, grass, whatever you have around the house, kill mosquitoes, etc. When it's dry, it's probably pretty safe for everybody. But again, while it's wet, you don't want the children and the pets out there. A lot of non-toxic options. Diatomaceous earth is a kind of material that swimming pools use for filtering. And it does a wonderful job of keeping out certain kinds of insects from getting into if you have a vegetable garden, just sprinkle a bit around the outside edge where they would have to cross to get there. It's very disruptive to their systems. Boric acid, plant-based oils, and soaps are also very, very good non-toxic options. I find that if I want to get rid of weeds, vinegar, 30%, no less than 20%. But you buy them at the Home Depot and Lowe's and places like that, possibly Walmart on occasion. Get 30%. You just spray it on directly, and literally 8 hours, weeds are gone. They're dead. I use ground garlic. I buy it and in as big a container I can. I put it in my fertilizer spreader and just go around and just spray the yard with garlic. That's good enough to generally keep mosquitoes away. It lasts for a fairly long time. The first couple, 3 days, you might have an outside yard that smells like you're next to an Italian eatery, but other than that, Roundup, again, we know problems associated with the ingredients in that. Avoid it. Don't buy it. Don't use it. Agent Orange, for those people, I happen to be one of them who happen to be in Vietnam and exposed to it. A lot of times the toxic results don't show up for decades. And again, if you're having some problems and you were in an area over in the Middle East or in Vietnam, might be time to talk to somebody, see if your exposure to something many, many years ago is causing some of your problems today. Noise pollution. Being an aviator, I was constantly wearing earplugs, but 40 years after flying, I have ear problems. So noise counseling headphones are better than earplugs because we'll actually take that frequency and cancel it out. But earplugs with earmuffs on the outside are better than just earplugs by themselves. Anytime that you can increase the distance between you and the noise, the better it is. Maybe some places you can actually plant trees and shrubs where a noise source is coming from. Maybe it's the traffic out in front of your house or behind your house, and that will reduce some of it. And get your hearing tested periodically. If every 3 years, every 5 years, if there's a problem, catch it early enough to do something. Abusive relationships. Yeah, it's not a toxin per se, but it is toxic to the body. Definitely toxic to your physical health and your longevity. If you don't know the domestic violence hotlines, you should know them and use them when appropriate. Educate yourself. What is an abusive relationship? Is what you're having right now, is that really and truly abuse? If it is, get on the hotline. What other options do you have? Google is a great source of information. ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, YouTube, lots and lots of information out there. Go look it up. If you're thinking you're having an abusive relationship, talk to others. Document your events. What's going on? Do you have an exit plan to what's going on? If maybe you don't, what options are available? There's lots and lots of things out there, but keep people aware, document it, and then if all else fails, maybe it's time to start talking to a professional. Codependent relationships, not exactly the same thing as an abusive relationship, but it borders on the same thing. Again, there's national helplines. Call them, talk to somebody. Maybe you have one, maybe you don't. Education, absolutely. You need to recognize what a codependent relationship is and what options you have. Usually with codependent relationships, self-esteem becomes an issue. There are many things that we can do to improve our own self-esteem. Setting boundaries. People, I don't want you talking about that. I don't want you doing this, whatever it is, set boundaries. And there's ways to set them effectively. Sometimes when you're having a conversation with somebody, it ends up being an argument. And then no matter what it is, all they hear is, no, stop. Well, sometimes you need to say, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with most of it. Okay, now you've already established the fact that you're hearing them and that there's some level of agreement. But you now disagree with this portion. You are now setting up the situation where it's not the whole thing you disagree with, it's a portion of that. And I only want to be able to do it this way. This is my boundary for that portion. Lots of ways of doing that. Educate yourself. Awareness of substance abuse in others. Sometimes the codependent relationship becomes an issue of substance abuse, either in you or in others. Personality disorders and family and friends, education, a big way of being able to counter whatever is out there such that it improves your ability to reduce your codependent relationship on someone else. Toxic relations. Okay, this is you have abusive relationships. It could be physical, it could be sexual, it could be a lot of things. You have codependent relationships. You have toxic relationships. None of these involve toxins in the true sense of the word, but they're toxic and they will affect your health. Here again, what are triggers for a person's unhealthy behavior? Was it caused by PTSD from some event in their life? Is it caused by the relationship they have with their spouse, their boss, a coworker? It doesn't matter. There are lots of triggers out there. And the more you are educated on toxic relationships in general and what are the triggers typically and what you observe, again, if you can set boundaries, great. Learn how to enhance your communication so that you're not sitting there butting heads with somebody and you're both in disagreement, but you can agree to disagree given certain situations. Always you can seek support and therapy. The worst thing you want to do is become addicted to the situation, and now you have a codependent relationship with somebody of which you now have some kind of emotional addiction to that situation. Not a healthy thing to do. Education. Conflict resolution. Conflict resolution should be left to professionals, but depending on the level, sometimes, there's a lot of people in business that make a living with conflict resolution. A lot of videos out there on YouTube. How do you resolve conflicts? Might be something easy enough for you to do at the level you have with the relationship you have with someone. Might not be, but again, educate yourself on what is available, what can you do, and know when to get someone else involved. Again, a lot of times you can have compassion, you can know what's going on, but you can't fix the problem. That person is going to have those triggers whether you are aware of it, or you do anything, you talk to them or not. And most importantly, it's not your fault. Don't throw something back on you because of a relationship that somebody has a problem and they're taking it out on you. Again, have the compassion. Understand they have a problem, but it is not your job to fix that problem. They are the person that can only fix it, and maybe them and a professional. But so long as you're not blaming yourself, you're on the right side of the equation. Okay, we could go on almost an entire series on diets, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but trans fats is one of the ones I identified last week. And again, we're looking at avoiding stick margarines, any kind of vegetable shortenings. And the main reasons for this is trans fats, but it's also because they're high in omega-6 fatty acids. If you have a one-to-one relationship between your omega-3s and your omega-6s, great. 4-to-1 omega-6 to omega-1, okay. Anything greater than 4-to-1 becomes a problem. And the standard American diet many times sees 20, 30, 40-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3. So it's not that they're bad, it's the amount of them that you ingest. Avoid fried foods because almost all of your fried foods in restaurants and what you use at the house have the vegetable shortening or vegetable oil that's being used for frying. Uh, baked is an option. Steam. There's lots of options you can have over fried. You go to a restaurant, can I get this poached? Can I get this something? Ask what options they have. What are the two biggest ones that I looked at in trans fats? Microwave popcorn, frozen pizza. There are lots of foods out there that are very, very, very high in trans fats. Um, refrigerated dough, I was kind of surprised at that one. Commercial baked goods, not so much surprising in that one. But again, eat more fruits and vegetables, raw, fresh. They're definitely going to help you. Sugar, probably one of the biggest dietary toxins in the world. No doubt about it. Yeah, sugar's fine. Excess sugar is the issue. That's when the Cokes, any drink that you have that's a non-diet, the sauces we put on things, the ketchup, all that stuff, dessert, excess sugar. Now, I can certainly have a piece of pie once a week, no problem. I can have a Coke once a week, no problem. Drink tea, drink water. It's not the excess, it's how often you have the excess and how much of that excess is there. Uh, eat full fat and whole foods. A lot of the foods you buy say no fat or whatever it may have to be. Avoid processed foods. That's the number one cause of obesity in the world. Become a master learner of reading food labels and then using 0-calorie sweeteners when possible. Personal care products, from a toxin perspective next to food, this is probably the biggest problem we have. Because when you start slathering that stuff all over your entire body and you have that nanotechnology that allows the stuff to go straight through your skin, now all of a sudden you're introducing all sorts of chemicals directly into the body, directly into the bloodstream. So read the labels, know what's there. The fewer the ingredients in a product, the better. So if you're looking at two different kinds of things and they're both the same product, and this has 6 items, this has 16, take the one with 6. Be careful with dyes. EWG.org has thousands of individual chemicals. So if you see something on a label, you want to know what it is, EWG.org, look it up. Fragrance-free products, anything that says parfum or fragrance, avoid. Avoid anything that says waterproof or long-lasting. Those are things that typically have extra chemicals in it. Cleaning products, you may have something, lemon freshen this. Just get something that doesn't have a fragrance to it. Take a look at the safety precautions. If it says use gloves, use gloves. Use glass, whatever it may happen to be. Take a look at the safety precautions. Again, read the labels. Ventilate. If you need open windows, put a fan on. I find, ironically, I put the fan on in my kitchen and cut onions all day long and never have a problem with my eyes tearing because of the onions, because that ventilation sweeps that stuff away from me. So that's also a good thing to do. And never mix products, especially any kind of chlorine or ammonia with anything. Just not a healthy thing to do. A lot of natural things that can become good cleaners: white vinegar, lemon juice, sodium bicarbonate, salt. These are things, go to YouTube, non-toxic DIY cleaners, and figure out what you can do. They may require a little bit more muscle power, but so be it. Industrial products. We have lots of things that are out there. Some people insist that you remove your shoes at the door, but that's to take care of their carpets and everything else. But maybe if you're in an environment that you're working in, maybe it makes a lot of sense to take your shoes off when you get the house, because now you're not sharing those toxins on your rug that when you're walking on it later barefoot, you're picking them back up again. A lot of people love to use air fresheners. Well, if it's something that you're buying from the store as a product, chances are it has something in it that you don't want. Oh yeah, the room smells great. It's because of that toxic element you're smelling. Buy organic. Be very conscious about the choices you have. Be aware of stain resistant, water resistant, non-stick. Alternatives, when possible, choose them. And a big one, the AGEs. What was it? Growth rate. And I'll think of it in just a second. All of a sudden, my mind is blank. Anyway, reduce your heat when cooking so you reduce the amount of AGEs. And these are things that will definitely make you look older and feel older as you get down there. So, I can't believe I can't remember the name of AGEs. Hopefully I remember it before the end of the show. Best approach, Awareness. What are you exposed to today? What can you remove? What can you reduce? If there's something in there you can get away from a little bit more, choose a better product, do it. Labels, less is better. The alternatives, many DIY alternatives to preservatives, herbicides, pesticides, etc. Just go find out what they are. Is that something you want to do? A lot of foods, a lot of herbs, exercise can be used to reduce toxins. Just amazing amount of stuff out there. The USA Global TV archive has a playlist on that you go to Talking Heads, and you'll be able to find last several dozen shows that we've done on different kinds of health issues of heart, the brain, the gut, stress, toxins, etc. That's a good place to go. I have several books that talk about different things, but I think probably the best one for here is The Joy of Ageless Health. It's one that goes into the details of how disease grows in the body at the cellular level and what you can do to stop, prevent, reduce, mitigate each individual one of those actions that can lead to disease over the years. With that, I'm going to sign off and look forward to seeing you all next week. Red.Olaughlin. Bye.